Yo, my ghost and ghoulies of Party Land and beyond is Daven Estacado, and I'm here with my homie, my buddy from Another Nutty, the one and only Rob the Movie Guy. What's up, Rob?
What's going on, man? I'm very, very excited here. How are you doing so far here?
Well, I can't complain, man. I'm excited for the spoopy season just started. I'm glad we just got our other video dropped, and we're going to continue to be doing these, scary movie reviews for the rest of October. I know you're hype about it. I know we got a huge list we got to get through it, and so does the rest of the NRW crew. So you'll probably be getting videos from us every day for the next couple of days until the 31st.
I don't know how much time passed to do all that, but he's got his hands full, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But yes, this is going to be the first of the horror film reviews that we're going to be doing here.
Technically second, but
films, because the first one we did was a series.
Yeah, true.
So we're doing this is going to be the first of the film series we're going to be doing for Halloween, for the month of October, for the season of Halloween.
Oh, you're right. You're right. The month of
vampires.
That's how I celebrate.
Right. So Vampires versus the Bronx, a new Netflix original film that just came out. And honestly, I wasn't even privy to this stuff being promoted here. I was actually unaware of it until I came across it through another review that I happened to check out, and that's when I was made aware of this project here. Talked to you about that, and I said we got to review this movie. And then Pat was like, "Get into this here." And I'm like, "All right, cool." So we got into it, and here we are. And we're actually really excited to talk because there's a lot of things we want to cover here. So before we do that, let's roll the trailer here real quick.
Roll the clip.
What's poppin', y'all? It's your girl Gloria coming at you live. If you see a kid that's riding a bike 2 sizes too big for him, that's just little man trying to save the neighborhood. And speaking of saving the neighborhood, what's up with all these missing person flyers?
Yo, check out the courthouse.
They're turning it into apartments?
Y'all know how this starts. Them white people with canvas bags, that's always the first sign.
Hey, what you doing down here, bro?
It's too late to fight back now. We are going to wipe you out like the vermin you are.
We got vampires in the Bronx.
Nobody gonna care that Slim disappeared.
Why? Because he's a gangbanger?
Nah, homie. Because he's from the Bronx, like us.
There's a lot of things happening in this neighborhood right now. Keep your eyes open.
All right.
Yo, that was mad vague, dog.
What do you do for work?
Real estate.
Are you seriously out at night when you know there's a couple of vampires running around? We're gonna need some garlic and some wooden stakes, like right the hell now.
Going to the nest and take out every last one of them.
One night with you guys and I already have vampires and thugs trying to kill me.
Vampire! Go!
And there you have it. A very, I want to say, simple plot, but it works on some levels. I'm not going to say it works on some levels because it works on some levels.
Yeah.
And even through the trailer and watching the film, you get that very 90s vibe from it, which I really, really enjoyed throughout the film, especially in the beginning of the film.
Yeah. So we were talking about before we started recording about a lot of the similarities we've seen with other genres of horror films featuring kids or teenagers or something to that sort.
Or vampires in general.
Right, but and you and I agreed that this definitely had a bit of a Attack the Block feel to it, and Lost Boys feels, and I don't know if you mentioned anything else. You mentioned Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Buffy the Vampire Slayer, some here there, some Monster Squad. Not too much.
Yeah.
I wish it was more, and we'll get to that. But let's start off. What did you think so far of the film? Good parts.
Well, so let's do this here first. Let's talk about what the plot is all about, because I know the trailer got into it a bit here. So essentially, you have this this mysterious company that's buying out a large amounts of properties in the Bronx, and they're paying stupid amount of money to buy out these properties, and then the people that are selling them end up disappearing after the fact. In fact, one of the first sequences in the movie, you have a wonderful cameo by Ms. Zoe Saldana in the film, who is selling her nail spa salon, and all this contract negotiation happens that night, and she signs up the contract, gets this money, and then all of a sudden she gets bit by a vampire, and that's pretty much the general plot right there. And then you have a boy by the name of Miguel, who they refer to as Little Mayor, who is trying to save one of the bodegas that's struggling with the rent because the rent's going through the roof, and he's being sought after to sell the property, and he wants to save it. Yeah,
he's grown up there. He's hung out there.
Yeah,
it's been a place that him and his friends hang out, and
yeah.
It was like a safe place for them. Because the block kind of knows everybody.
Yeah,
everybody knows who it is. And it's kind of become kind of like a meeting spot for the kids.
So we have that introduction of the characters. So you get the idea of where the story is going at that point, because you have the introduction of the vampires in the very beginning, and then you're seeing who are the main characters, what their backgrounds are, which we'll get into that as well. My overall the movie, and I'm sure because we discussed about this before we started recording, we're in the same spot of how we feel about it. It definitely has a lot of wonderful homages to the old horror films of the 90s and some of the late 80s as well, too. And I love that about the film, especially that first half of the movie there. And eventually, the film started to lose me a little bit in the second half. But we'll get into the negatives as well. But first of all, let's just focus on the positives here, because I thought the film was a lot of fun. I really, truly was really into the movie here. Up until a certain point here. But for you, I don't know if you want to elaborate on your side of it here, what you felt about the movie.
I love that it was the main characters, that they were kids. They were a mixed cast here of characters. You had your smart kid, you had your street kid, you had your, the leader kid. And it wasn't too tropey. It was tropey, but just enough to kind of set up the story.
Yeah,
because you see a lot of the horror movie tropes and vampire tropes throughout the film, and every time as I was watching it from the beginning of the movie, I don't know if I was hearing it, but you hear that video cassette when you push that video cassette into cassette player, your VHS player, you hear that sound from the beginning of the movie to the end. I felt like I was watching like a 90s movie. I had that vibe to it as the movie progressed. I really enjoyed the character interactions. I enjoyed kind of the throwbacks to some of the other vampire movies. You get a little bit of a nod to the Lost Boys. You get a nod to Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Blade, even.
Yeah.
It was really cool to see how these characters kind of deal with the situation with the vampires. The vampires were somewhat of a threat. More so one than the others, but we'll get to that. But I also really enjoyed their interactions with each other. You could tell like these were genuinely kids dealing with a weird new situation that they got themselves to, and it had that Monster Squad feel to it. That's to an extent. I wish it was more Monster Squad, but the beginning of the movie where you can kind of see the friendship, the kids, the build up with those relationships between them and the rest of the characters and the rest of the block or the community was actually really refreshing to see.
Yeah, and one other thing too that I wanted to point that you and I discussed before we started recording here was the fact that this is being told, and not that this is the forefront of the film here, but it's being told through the perspective of minorities, because when you and I were discussing about the film was that in our last review with Pat, we were talking about how people of color would never run into a problem like that. They would just stay away from that. And then we have sequences in the movie where you have the characters looking, and Miguel, the little mayor, is of, I'm assuming, I can't recall what is.
No, he's putting up posters for the block.
Right. No, I'm just saying that his background,
part.
I believe, is like, I'm not sure if he's Puerto Rican or Dominican. I'm not sure. He was Puerto Rican. Okay. Oh yeah, you're right. He was Puerto Rican. Sorry. But anyway, so he's looking at, you mentioned about the posters he's posting up there, and he sees like this mysterious figure, and he's like, fuck, I mean, he doesn't say it like that, but he's looking, he's like, fuck this, I'm leaving. So he walks away.
He does.
And walks away. There's none of that, let me look a little closer, see what's going on. Hello, are you there? Hello? None of that nonsense, which I appreciated. And then we get to the part, which I'm kind of jumping ahead, but there's a reason why I'm bringing this up, is that the reason why he's going after the vampires in the movie is to help save the block. And that motivation for him to do that, although he knows it's very dangerous, he understands that there are going to be some severe consequences, and he's willing to do whatever it takes to protect the people that he cares for, which I thought was a really nice touch to that emotional aspect of this character's motivation here. So I really appreciated that. And of course, you mentioned about the friends who are, you know, one of the things that that I laughed so hard about was that you had the other Hispanic kid too, who wears the glasses, and they kept referring to him as Puerto Rican Harry Potter. I thought that was fucking hilarious. And then you have their friend, I believe his name is William, if I'm not mistaken. Bobby, thank you so much, Bobby. You know, who's the black kid in the neighborhood too, and he's kind of like a little involved with a lot of the gangster side of the neighborhood, where he's being coerced into this here, but his friends are trying to pull him away from that. And he's kind of stuck in the middle there, which I thought was really nice to kind of touch upon there, because you're seeing what the life is like and how these kids are how many people in the community are trying to be above that. So I thought that was a nice little touch. I don't know if you want to delve into that further, or if you have something else you want to bring up as far as the characters are concerned, because really the characters, they were never the problem. I thought they were fantastic.
Oh yeah, they weren't the issue. Even the character Tony, played by the kid Mero, did a fantastic job. He's attached to other projects. He's attached to to other properties. DeSeuss and Mero, and he's done some work for Stars versus the Forces Evil, which is an animated series. And he produced the film too. I think he's also one of the producers here on the film. He did a fantastic job. Like I don't think anyone in the cast did a bad job.
I don't think so either.
As I go, everybody was believable. Even the moms. The moms really did a fantastic job. The one mother. Going off on one of the friends, I think Luis was the one. Going on on him was fantastic. It was a nice touch. Even Method Man does a fantastic job as his character.
I liked him in the movie too, but we don't see enough of him because, and so I don't mean to jump into negatives now, but we will definitely get into that here. But his character was solid, and I really was hoping a lot more from him.
Yeah, agreed.
And unfortunately, you don't. And but again, we'll talk about that in our negatives here. But so as far as the positives are concerned, we covered about the characters, which we thought were great, and the mothers too. You mentioned about the mothers, and this is the part that I really, truly enjoyed, was the superstitious side of the people of colors community, where we have Hispanics, and there's a one Haitian character in there too that Lil Mayor has a crush on, who's I think she was like 16 or something. He's like 12 or 13, something along those lines. But at any rate, when he's talking about, I saw vampires, I have a video that I recorded. He's trying to prove it to everybody, and then you're seeing that the reaction of the community there, like that's not true. And you've been hanging out with this kid who's a problem in the neighborhood, and you need to go to church. Like all that superstitious side of that community is starting to come out through their elders, or their moms and their grandmothers and their aunts or whatever else, and I thought that was a nice little touch to see that from that perspective there, because now, you got to go to church tonight. You're going to come with me to church tonight. And I thought that was something that was interesting to see from that perspective. I don't know if you got that vibe, or if you felt the same way about that as well.
It was refreshing to see that, because I was watching the film, finally, there's a smart, horror movie character who's like, I just see some freaky stuff and I'm going the other direction.
Right. But then he reverts back to say, you know what, we're going to stop these guys. Yeah. But the motivation, like I said before, was definitely helped out. But did you want to get into as far as like the plot? What did you think of the plot? Did you think the plot was good, or did you think it was starting to fall apart? Because for me, I was kind of mixed about it.
It did fall apart. Like it's a good film. But it left me kind of weak at the end. I liked the first half. Yeah. It was the second half where it kind of fell apart for me, and it lacks, no pun intended, a bit of bite to it, where it could have done a little bit more, and it could have been a lot better. Where I was kind of waiting for the more tension moments, some more, not only violence, but the vampires weren't really a threat. They were, but they didn't seem as a threat because the kids were easily disposed of them. Not Granted, the scene was very homages to the Lost Boys, but it would have been nice to kind of see some more time spent with some other characters,
especially the vampires.
Kind of building them up a little bit, building up Method Man's character, and the side plot with the gangsters being in cahoots with the vampires and stuff was a nice touch.
They were involved unknowingly because they had they had that one guy who is they called him a familiar because they were referencing Blade, who in the film Blade they had humans that were working with the vampires in hopes that they themselves would be turning into vampires too, and that's what this guy's intentions were as well. And so he was the one that was bringing the gangs involved to go after these kids, which I thought was kind of fucked up, but it worked. I thought up until the very same vampires killed him. So it was like, what in the world is going on? So that's kind of where the film started like to fall apart here for me. One thing I want to bring up here too before we start getting into our negatives here, which was that I love the idea that when they stole the holy water, they put them in like water balloons and liter bottles of like Sprite or whatever else. Whenever they were near the vampires, the water started to boil. I thought that was a really nice twist.
And again, that's one major thing. I love that they stayed true to like, and little homages to actual real other vampire, lore. And they bring it up, like you said, with the superstitious part of, some of the kids and some of the cultural backgrounds. They brought that up again, and they put it together so well in the story. It was great. I loved it. I absolutely loved it.
Yeah, and so they definitely took it a new direction here in infusing that there. So, you want to get into the negatives now, because this is really where I'm going to start like just pouring the shit out here.
Yeah, let's do it, because I was, like I said, I was kind of disappointed with the second half of the movie and like just the direction it went, because I wanted when I looked at the trailer, I was really expecting Monster Squad meets the Lost Boys. Really kind of pushing it a little bit. I think it would have done a little bit better. So this was a PG-13 movie.
I think it was, yeah.
Yeah, they kind of kept it a little light in tone. But there were some things that kind of took me out. I kind of I was really hoping for more.
Yeah, same here.
To, I don't know, push the envelope a little bit with the movie. Like, it played it a little too safe.
I agree with you on that. And here's another thing, too, that I wanted to bring out was that I understand this is a low-budget movie. And in a lot of ways, it didn't feel that way for me. Yeah. Especially in the first half. When you have the sequences where the kids or rather the vampires are on camera, you don't see them, and how that kind of plays out in certain sequences in the film. I thought it worked really well to their benefit there, to kind of help motivate them to keep moving the story forward here. But then all of a sudden, the very same things that the vampire, or at least the intentions of the vampires, are trying to do here, where they have influences on the community there, especially with the police department and all, you would think, and as I mentioned before, that the people that they've hired to help them out, that they would keep them around until they don't need them anymore. But then all of a sudden, like, we mentioned about the gangs being hired by Frank, the dude who was the familiar. Did he not tell the guys, hey, listen, don't kill these guys here, because they're trying to find the kids for us here. Let them find the kids, and then let them bring them to us, and then I don't know if that was never communicated, because then at the end of the day, the lead vampire, the head vampire, which was a female, I believe, by the name of Vivian, she tells a guy he's a mistake. Spoilers, he makes all these mistakes. Yeah, well, we'll get into that here. But she tells him, you screwed us up. But the same fucking vampires that he was trying to protect were the ones that took out the guys that he hired for the intention of getting the kids and then bringing them back to them. So it's like all that stuff just didn't add up there for me. And then, there's like certain sequences that just didn't really play out as well, where the kids are confronting the vampires and they were able to take them out pretty easily. Really no serious consequences. And when you look at other films like The Lost Boys or even Attack the Block, since this has that kind of feel to it as well, those consequences were real. I mean, those kids were really put up to the ringer there. and in some cases, some of them lost their lives. So that you really definitely felt the threat. And here, I didn't feel that at all because maybe it's because we didn't get enough background of these vampires, or we don't really, you felt that there was a force out there to be reckoned with, but then at the end of the day, all 6, 7 vampires that were there, all of them were wiped out by baseball bats and skateboards. So it's just like it doesn't add up well to me, so. The execution of like having the vampires confront these kids wasn't handled very well in my mind. I'm not sure if you want to add on to that, or if you want to share a different point of view for what you saw that I may have missed out on. So
yeah, a lot of it had to do with like blind luck, which
yeah.
But I think that kind of helped with the appeal of the movie because I think a lot of the stuff in the Lost Boys was also blind luck.
Sure.
But it worked out in the end, and it helped. But yeah, like I agree, there should have been more of a threat. Even with some of the action sequences, it was kind of like very. Again, these are kids; they're not trained professionals. They looked very clumsy, which was believable. But I think there's been more to it. There was one couple of plot holes that kind of opened up, especially when regarding to the fact of a key that the kids were looking for. And regarding the ashes of the remains of the first vampire ever, which she blows on one of the kids, but
to turn him,
but nothing happens to the kid once she goes away. Like there's no ending to that unless there's like a sequel.
Well, that's the thing though, because she wanted to use that red dust from that vampire to convert more people, which I was like, I don't understand. So what are their intentions? Are they trying to drink the blood of the people here, or they want to convert some people? Like they weren't really clear.
Because if you inquire, their plans were actually going to be like creating a whole vampire like community in a sense.
Right, but it wasn't. They didn't really delve too much into it. It was kind of just like we're gonna eat these people, and no one's gonna care because it's the Bronx. I'm like, what? That's it? So, but I wasn't sure if because they kind of say they want to convert more people. Who do they want to convert? Who do they want to turn into vampire? What purpose do they have to? We've come to this neighborhood here, and they're saying they want to wipe everybody out, but then they want to convert some people. Who do they want to do that to? So, and then she throws this dust to this red dust to the kid, the black kid, Bobby. But so I don't understand. I thought you wanted to kill him. Now you want to convert him. It doesn't make any sense to me. So
at the time, because everybody else, she was on her own. So I thought she quickly turned him into a vampire to kind of help even the odds. But at the same time, it's kind of like it didn't go anywhere. The dust was clearly blown on this kid.
Right, but they don't explain what
she gets staked out, and then nothing happens to it. Like, oh, he's fine now because she's gone. Like,
right,
that didn't make any sense to me.
I don't understand what the whole purpose is. So she has to blow dust on this kid, dust on somebody, and then bite them to officially turn them. It just that twist of like the conversion there didn't add up for me. I'm not saying there's a bad idea, but it just didn't. They didn't really explain that very well, which I wish there was a little more exposition. I mean, if there's exposition that was needed, that would have been a great time to do that.
Yeah.
How do you turn them? Like to have Frank with like the dude that's the familiar there. It would have been nice to hear it from that perspective. So then you understand, okay, this is what she intends on doing.
Yeah.
Now we get it. So, but there wasn't enough of that. So this is actually going to be the only first time that I've ever complained about this here. But exposition would have been really nice here, to see what's, to really understand what was going on here. So I'm wondering if there's a lot of stuff that may have been cut out that were probably supposed to be in the movie that maybe it wasn't. It was going to take away from the runtime or whatever. Who knows? But the film was a little too short, and honestly, once that second half kicked in for me, it just started dragging on for me. And when it ended, I never got that satisfaction. Like, okay, they've got their comeuppance. They've got they've saved the neighborhood. They've they're honoring Tony and all the other lost people that lost their lives in this whole transaction here for selling their properties and their businesses, and. I just didn't get any real connection to that because again, you have a great set of characters, but the payoff was bland for me. So
yeah,
I hate to say it, but I honestly don't know if I would really go as far as saying I would revisit the movie again.
Yeah, that's exactly. I feel like this is like a one shot. And
Yeah,
that's it.
but and the thing is, it had a lot of potential, and it was riding off on a really great start until it started to unravel for me on that with what we just discussed here. I don't know. Do you want to add on anything else here too? Things you may have that you liked and we may have forgotten to bring up on here, or things that we didn't like that you want onto that?
Like I said, there were some characters I wanted more of. Like
Yeah.
I wanted more of the Father Jackson in the movie. I thought he was going to play a better role, a more bigger role in the movie. Um, just kind of cleaning stuff up regarding the vampires, making them seem more of a threat to the kids. They were a threat, but not as much as I would have liked to see.
Yeah,
I wanted to push it more towards the Monster Squad, kind of Lost Boys, maybe rated R. Maybe would have. I don't know if it would have done a better movie, but I think would have pushed a little bit more. I'm not saying that I wanted more violence, but just more.
Take bigger risks behind it. Because, like a movie like in Attack the Block, which I think is a little bit longer than this one, because I think Attack the Block is about 1:30, an hour 30 minutes, something like that. But you got more development for these characters and the consequences and the dangers they were put through. I mean, you felt it. You were you connected with those characters, and then the payoff at the end for that film, it was like a very satisfactory ending, where you went through the journey and the hero prevailed, although being put up on the way to jail, of course. But you saw that the neighborhood looked at him differently, because this is a guy who was looked really down upon, and all of a sudden he saves the neighborhood, and everyone recognizes him as a hero. And here, not to say that the guys were not any good, they were great. In fact, I thought the fact that they were using good-natured kids in this plot here, I thought was really good. But the consequences weren't all that real for me. But that's I've already said my piece on that there. So on your end over there, how would you go as far as recommending the movie? Would you recommend it to horror fans, general public? How would you go about doing that?
If you're looking for a movie that's kind of like one of those, rent it once. It's a rental. Don't buy it. Rent it. Watch it once.
Well, you don't have to rent it now. You just have to watch it on Netflix.
Yeah, just watch it. And you enjoy these kind of movies, and you enjoy that kind of. If you're looking for that '90s vibe horror comedy, watch it. At least watch it for what they did. I really do appreciate what they did with this story. And for the vampires, does it fall a little flat? Yes. Could have been better? Yes. But it is a one-shot movie. I do recommend at least watch it.
Yeah, I'm on the same boat with you. Watch it once and make your own decision, because I think the film was actually getting some pretty decent reviews. I think it was 80% ratio there, and I thought, who saw the movie? Because the complaints that I had, I don't recall seeing much of that in the general consensus of the reviews. So I'm a little curious to see what the overall thoughts on here, because the one review that I did come across here was pretty much the exact same thing that they were saying. I had the exact problems with the movie too. So I'm a little confused about what it is that they thought that was so great about the movie that it's going up in that 80 percentile there. But I'm not saying they were wrong, but I'm just curious to see what they saw. Maybe I didn't see it, and maybe it would encourage me to come back and revisit.
It's a charming. It has some charm.
Yeah, it does.
It had some '90s, horror charm to it, which was enjoyable to watch. And to see these kids kind of overcome was kind of like, all right, cool. The whole block party ending was nice to see. To finally actually see that, happy ending. And who knows, it may have a sequel, it may not. But here's hoping that we get more stuff like this. And just, seeing horror from another perspective,
Yeah. And the film was directed by a gentleman by the name of Oz Rodriguez. I'm not familiar with any of his work. I don't know what his background is as far as the industry is concerned, but he did co-wrote the movie, and he was the one that came up with the story. So clearly the guy has a lot of love for the genre, and I think he has a lot of potential. So I'm certainly not trying to take anything away from him for what he did in the movie here. I'm sure there's a lot of factors that came in to limit his ability to expand on the stuff that he wanted to, and I'm sure that might be the case here. But I'm really curious to see what else he's going to do next here. And if he does do a sequel to this movie, I would honestly be down to watch it. Hopefully they can do something better this time around, or whatever other projects he may have coming down the pipeline. I'd be very interested to check out his work because I really do think he does a great job in executing the story. I'm hoping he can deliver the endings a little bit better when it comes to that final confrontation at the end. I'm hoping they can do something that better next time around here, especially if he's going to tackle a genre like this again. But that's it. Those are our thoughts here on the film. I don't know if you want to add on to anything before we close out here.
No, final thoughts. Check it out. Do yourselves a favor. Check it out, especially if you have kids, they'll probably enjoy it. Most likely, grab some popcorn. Have just one of yours. Pop it in. Horror movies that you can watch with the kiddos. It's not too scary, but scary enough to enjoy.
All right. Well, that's it then. So make sure you let us know what you guys think of the movie in the comment section down below. If you agree with us or if you disagree with us, let us know why. And if you did like the film, if you're in that part of the 80% tile there, let us know why you enjoyed the film, because I'll be very curious to see what it is that you saw that I did not see. And I'm hoping that would encourage me to want to go back and visit the film here. But that being said, though, make sure you also subscribe to our channel if you haven't done so. I have noticed that our numbers are starting to go up here little by little. So we really appreciate for all the new subscribers out there. We really thank you very much for that. And also make sure you share and like our videos as well, too, because that would also help out spread the word that is All New Release Wednesdays here. And also make sure you follow our social media accounts here on Facebook. Facebook and Instagram. We are at New Release Wednesdays, and on Twitter at DNRW. And myself on my social media accounts, you can follow me on Instagram, Rob_Medina0585, and on Twitter, RobMedina0585, and on Facebook, simply just Rob Movie Guy. And my buddy from Another Nutty over there, where can they follow you, sir?
And you can follow me on my Instagram and on my Twitter on Daven is Disaster. You can follow me on our personal Facebook page on Daven A.S. Staccato, where I talk about everything else, pop culture, movies, video games, and memes. Lots and lots of memes, like y'all, that I see every day. But besides the point, guys, that's our video for today. Like Rob said, hit that like, subscribe button. If you like what we do here, please do us a favor. Check out what the rest of the NRW crew is doing, because they're doing some fantastic stuff. It's not just us who's doing. We're doing movie reviews, music reviews, video games, comic books, everything and more regarding pop culture. So do yourselves a favor. Check that out if you like what we do here, and always come back for anything else pop culture here on NRW.
All right, guys. Until next time, thank you very much for joining us here today. We hope you guys enjoyed it. Stay cool out there, and cheers.